Okay, let me say that in order for Singaporean laws to work in the U.S., it would take a complete reform. Yes, it'll take a complete reform where people, for instance, would be more reluctant to get arrested. Like I don't know. You remember that American boy? Some decades ago, some boy was in Singapore. He wrote graffiti and they caned him for writing graffiti. I think they sentenced him to like 10 lashes or something, but Bill Clinton got it reduced to 5 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, the U.S. You write graffiti, it's like a slap on the wrist. So, it'll take a total reform.
This is my second time sitting down with Malcolm, an American writer and researcher who's been watching Singapore very closely. In our last interview, you guys loved his honesty, and this time we go even deeper.
My name is Malcolm Aaron. I'm an African American who has repatriated to Ghana. I have a degree in anthropology from Hofstra University in New York. And currently I'm just primarily a freelance researcher.
So I asked my guest to take me back to his very first impression in terms of what went through his mind when he saw how spotless the streets of Singapore were, especially when he compared it to what he was used to back in the United States.
My first impression was that the government out there, or whoever it is who's in charge of keeping the environment clean, must be effectively doing their job. Or as we would say in the States, they have the people. Excuse me. They have the people shook. The people are disciplined to know that they can't do certain things, and they respect the authorities enough not to actually do it. Or maybe you say in the case of some of them, they respect themselves enough.
Honestly, I found his answer to that question pretty interesting. He didn't hold back. So I followed up by asking him to describe what it actually feels like walking around in a typical American city compared to walking the streets of Singapore.
You have to be on your P's and Q's more. You know what I mean? You have to be like more alert because there's a higher crime rate. You know what I'm saying? And in terms of the environment, you could tell or you could feel that Singapore is more sterile. The U.S. cities, they're a bit. Not only are the laws more lax in terms of things, but they're a bit older. So the structures and things of the such are, in some areas, may be dilapidated as compared to what you would typically find in Singapore.
Singapore keeps its society clean and safe with strict rules and serious penalties. So I asked Malcolm, could Americans ever accept something like that? And here is what he had to say.
In America, in the United States, you have a situation where a lot of people aren't afraid of incarceration. And some people may even see being incarcerated or being in jail as a rites of passage. So if it's a complicated question to try to answer. It will take a total. Okay, let me say that in order for Singaporean laws to work in the U.S., it would take a complete reform. Yes, it'll take a complete reform where people, for instance, would be more reluctant to get arrested. You know what I mean? Maybe they need to institute caning or something.
Okay.
Yeah. Like I don't know. You remember that American boy? Some decades ago, some boy was in Singapore. He wrote graffiti and they caned him for writing graffiti. I think they sentenced him to like 10 lashes or something, but Bill Clinton got it reduced to 5 or 3 or something like that. Yeah, the U.S. You write graffiti, it's like a slap on the wrist. So, it'll take a total reform. I don't know if that answered the question effectively, but
yeah, I think that's okay. Yeah. After hearing his take on rules and discipline, I wanted to shift gears a bit. So I asked him about his experience with crime in America. and how that compares to how safe he felt walking around in Singapore.
In America, certain communities, let's say certain youth communities, they have, it's a criminal culture. Like the culture encourages criminal activity. And even when you watch a lot of the popular shows, like on Netflix coming out of the U.S. or cable television, you see that we live in a society where criminals, so long as you're a successful criminal, a successful criminal is even more idealized than a high paid doctor. I don't know why it's like that, but that's just how it is. So when you have a country in Singapore, like Singapore, where being a criminal is seen more as a I don't know I don't even know how to say it, more as like a personal shortcoming. Okay, let's say like if you're in high school in the United States and you commit a violent robbery and you get away with it, your peers will exalt you. That's what I mean. That yes, it's a country that idolizes criminal activity, or certain communities in particular, like the African American community. But these days it's like it's becoming more like the youth culture in general. Yeah, that's just how it is. Yeah.
Can you give me like examples? Have you like personally experienced like crime? You have any examples you can share with us?
Yes. But I don't know exactly what kind of example you're looking for.
Yeah, like something you have personally witnessed, a serious crime, because I know the average person in Singapore probably, hasn't like, witnessed, maybe violent crime or something like that. From you, all throughout your stay in the United States, have you like, how often did you witness violent crime?
Yeah, it was, when I lived in Brooklyn, it was quite often. For instance, when I can't remember exactly how old I was. I think I was like 18. My brother had a birthday party, and some guy ended up getting murdered in my bedroom. So, yeah, seriously, I had to wash the guy's blood off my bedroom door. It was like it's a complicated situation. It was like one of his own friends shot him, but he tried to make it look like somebody else did it, or an accident. Oh gosh. Yeah, in those environments, like Brooklyn, and when I was at high school, stuff happened on a daily basis, practically. Yeah, it was part of the culture. So even if you in school and you studying and you're doing the right thing, somebody could even say that you're a pussy or a punk or something like that and come and assault you. You know what I mean? It's like that kind of culture. Yeah. You listen to rap, you hear what they talk. Yeah. Yeah.
I understand it.
Okay.
Okay. So, what is your personal opinion on Singapore's tough laws? What is your personal opinion? Like mandatory death penalty for drug trafficking and killing for vandalism?
Yeah.
What is your
It's extreme. It's extreme. The laws are too extreme. That's how I personally feel. The laws are too extreme. If you can't even like if you smoke a spliff and they give you how many years for smoking a spliff, or potentially the death penalty and stuff like that, it's too extreme. I don't going back to Lee Kuan, I don't know why it's like that, but yeah, they're too extreme. But I know Asia, so certain parts of Asia have those kind of issues, and to my understanding, I had a friend, China also has that reputation, but I had a friend who went to China. He said it was easy to find marijuana. So,
wow.
Yeah, told me they got some really good stuff there. So, but Singapore, yeah, I think Singapore is like these days considered the most extreme country when it comes to those kind of laws.
Now, here's where I got a little confused. Malcolm had just shared some deeply personal and horrifying experiences with crime in America, including at just 18 years old, witnessing someone get murdered right in his own room. But despite all of that, he still wasn't in favor of strict laws like the kind Singapore has. Laws that many would argue are the very reason Singapore is so clean and safe. So I had to ask him if he thought the way Americans define freedom is sometimes actually standing in the way of having a safer and more orderly society.
Yes. Yes.
You think so?
Yes.
And would you guys be willing to adopt like very strict rules like in Singapore? It's something you guys would be
No.
willing to embrace.
No. Countries have different histories, and the foundation of the United States was based on breaking away from authority, more or less. Breaking away from the colonial rule of Britain. So they have certain ideologies in place. It's a never ending debate. How much freedom? How much freedom is too much freedom? Yeah, and you know, is if you look at the Constitution of the United States, no, certain people will not be able to accept those kind of laws. They'll see it as a historical affront, like you're going against the Constitution of the U.S. itself. Yeah, certain people will not be able to accept it.
So even though Malcolm agreed that America's view of freedom might sometimes get in the way of safety and order, he still believes that most Americans would never accept the kind of strict laws that make a place like Singapore work so well. And that is where our conversation ended. But it left me thinking, can freedom and discipline ever truly coexist? Or is it always one at the expense of the other? I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments.